She called the cops 7 times in a single hour, voice shrill with this weird mix of entitlement and rage, all because my wife wouldn't open the door to a woman who had no right to be there. That's how Patricia Vance operated, marching up like she owned not just our cul-de-sac, but the whole damn town of Cedar Grove, Texas. And here's the thing, Patricia picked the wrong house this time because the woman she was so dead set on intimidating, the one she'd come to boss around, was actually the new county police chief. My wife. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. When the door finally swung open and Lauren stepped out, badge gleaming and no time for nonsense, I swear you could see Patricia's smugness just evaporate right off her face like dew under a Texas sun. I kind of wish that was the end of it, neat and tidy, but you know how these things go. That was just the spark that set off a wildfire, a whole mess of secrets and lies unraveling in front of the entire neighborhood until suddenly there we were in court. Patricia jabbing her finger at me, screeching to the judge. She destroyed my life while I just sat there marveling at how one morning could unwind years of scheming. I'm Ethan Harper, and most days I'm just a freelance architect working in sweats trying to sketch people's dream homes. Lauren had started as chief maybe 2 weeks earlier, and that Tuesday she was out meeting the mayor while I was buried in blueprints trying to get ahead. That's when the doorbell buzzed, impatient, insistent like trouble. I peeked through the peephole, saw Patricia out there in a blazer so crisp it almost creaked hair, perfect eyes full of fury, and behind her a locksmith holding a toolbox, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Now that's the kind of red flag you can't miss. I opened the door just a crack, chain still on, and tried to keep things civil. "Can I help you, Mrs. Vance?" She shifted right into her official HOA voice. "Mr. Harper, I'm here on urgent business. Your property is in violation and I require immediate access for a safety inspection." The locksmith just stared at the ground. "What violations?" I asked, genuinely confused. Our house is basically the model of how to keep up a place. Patricia whipped out a folder, snapping through papers: unauthorized modifications, improper storage zoning breaches, unpermitted structures, all delivered like a lawyer on a caffeine binge. Per Section 52C of the revised HOA bylaws, I have authority to inspect whenever violations threaten our standards. Now, I've read our HOA docs cover to cover, and there is no Section 52C. She was bluffing, pure and simple. I tried to keep it calm. "There's a mistake. We haven't done anything needing permits. Let's schedule something official when Lauren's home." You could see her composure crack for a second, then she snarled, "Your wife's been dodging my calls, ignoring notices, poisoning this community with her defiance." She turned to the locksmith. "Proceed with the lock change." But the guy stood his ground. "Ma'am, I need homeowner consent or a court order." Patricia lost it. "Are you defying me? I'm the elected HOA president?" She pulled out her phone, threatening to call the police. "Go ahead," I said. "But no one's coming in here without legal authority." I glanced at the locksmith and added, "Changing my locks without permission is a crime." He packed up quick, muttering, "This ain't right," and left. That's when Patricia really let loose, screaming about outsiders, how we think we can ignore the rules, how she's handled our kind. Before I had no clue then about the 6 other families she'd harassed, the fake documents, or the millions riding on her little scam. I just stood there wondering how I'd explain this circus to Lauren when she got home. Across the street, our neighbor Agnes Wheeler, 70, and sharp as ever, stood at her window, phone up, recording everything. 20 minutes later, a police cruiser rolled up, lights bouncing across my front lawn. Patricia paced back and forth, ranting to her HOA allies on speakerphone. 2 officers got out, Daniels, a rookie, and Lynn, a little more seasoned. Patricia turned on the waterworks officers. "Thank God you're here. I've been threatened by the man in that house just for doing my job. I'm scared for my life." She dabbed fake tears with a tissue, and I almost laughed. I stepped outside. "I'm Ethan Harper. Mrs. Vance here showed up with a locksmith, demanded to inspect our house on authority she doesn't have. When I refused, she started yelling and called you." Daniels put his hand on his radio. "Sir, let's see some ID." That's when Agnes came marching over, voice steady as steel. "Officers, I've seen it all from my window. Patricia's been harassing families like this for months, tried it on the Parkers last week, brought strangers to their door, made threats." Patricia tried to cut her off. "Mrs. Wheeler, you're mistaken. This is official business." Agnes just held up her phone. "I have it all on video. Threats, everything." Officer Lynn perked up. Ma'am, let us see that footage, Patricia snapped. You're going to trust some old woman over an elected leader. Agnes didn't blink. I was designing homes before you were born. Patricia, I know a bully when I see one. That was when Lauren came home walking up in uniform badge gleaming. The officers snapped to attention. You could feel the tension crank up a notch. What's going on here? Lauren asked. Cool as can be. Daniels stumbled through the story. Chief Harper, there's an obstruction of HOA business. Lauren just fixed Patricia with a stare. On what authority are you trying to force entry into my home? Patricia floundered. Chief as president. I enforce compliance. Your marriage is a conflict of interest. I demand outside officers. She whipped out her phone recording. I'm being intimidated by a corrupt chief protecting her criminal husband. This is why neighborhoods fall apart. Agnes stepped closer. Officers, Patricia's run 6 families out of here with this stuff. The Parkers, the Lopezes, the elderly, Thompsons. Patricia's live stream faltered as Lauren stayed calm. File your complaints through proper channels. Mrs. Vance, this is over. The officers left, but the gleam in Patricia's eyes said she wasn't finished. And she wasn't, not by a long shot. Within an hour, her video was online everywhere. Facebook, TikTok, Instagram edited to make her look like a martyr, and Lauren like some corrupt cop running a crime ring out of our living room. It went viral. Comments exploded. Police protect their own. HOA hero fights corruption. But then cracks started showing. Sarah Clean, a neighbor, commented, Patricia did this to us last year, said our fence was illegal. She's a bully. Agnes uploaded her full video calmly narrating as an architect who helped draft the HOA rules, explaining Patricia had zero right to force entry. Her post blew up, flipped the narrative, and now Patricia was on the back foot. She tried again, emergency safety meeting at the community center, flyers everywhere. Stop police corruption. She packed the room with her loyalists, gave this big speech about lawlessness, but Agnes was ready. Standing with a folder in her hands, she named every family Patricia had targeted, all the phony violations, the lives she'd wrecked. Javier Morales, a usually quiet neighbor, chimed in. She tried the same locksmith trick at my house. Same lies. Patricia went off. They're trying to hide corruption. I have proof of their crimes, and stormed out, vowing to expose us all. Outside, Agnes pulled me aside. Ethan, this is bigger than harassment. I found something in the records. Next morning, her dining table was covered in maps and old plats, property lines from 1995 overlaid with new ones showing Patricia and her friends' lots magically getting bigger over the years. Lauren's eyes narrowed. Who approved this? Agnes had hidden meeting minutes, secret notices, all buried where no one would look. Turns out Patricia had been running shadow HOA meetings for years, slowly redrawing boundaries to funnel land and money to herself and her ex-husband Victor. Bank records showed their shell company Summit Realty buying up distressed properties cheap and flipping them. I got a chill when I realized Patricia wanted my dad's old plans, the only evidence of the original property lines. Lauren looked at me. This is federal-level fraud. Agnes quietly slid over an FBI card. Agent Carlo Ortiz. The Bureau's been watching Summit Realty in 17 neighborhoods. They need proof, and we have it. Car doors slammed outside. Patricia came up the walkway with 2 men in suits, her demeanor cold-controlled. The doorbell rang, voice smooth but threatening. Mrs. Wheeler, we need to talk about your so-called research. In the living room, Patricia dropped her act. The men introduced themselves as legal counsel for Summit. You've illegally accessed private records, Mrs. Wheeler. Lauren bristled, but the older man cut in. Chief, this is a federal matter now. Patricia's smile was pure venom. Agnes, give up your little project. You have no idea who you're up against. Agnes just glared. You're defrauding families. Patricia's eyes flashed. You idiot. This goes way beyond you. Lauren's phone buzzed. Agent Ortiz, urgent. Your location's compromised. Evacuate now. The suits glanced at each other. Got up, left in a hurry. Patricia shouted over her shoulder. They'll kill me if I don't deliver. Next thing I knew, we were ducking through backyards as black SUVs rolled in. Patricia's words haunted me. 20 years I built this. They owe me FBI safe houses briefings. Turns out Agent Hayes, a mole, had been tipping Summit off, and now the network was targeting whistleblowers nationwide. Problem was, much of Agnes's evidence was technically inadmissible. She'd gotten it by poking into restricted files. Lauren was suspended for conflict of interest. Patricia went underground, her house stripped bare. We thought we'd hit a dead end until my phone rang. Ethan. It's Lucas Vance. Patricia's son. I've been working with the FBI recording her for months. She tried to kill me when she found out. At a diner, Lucas, bruised and shaky, played us hours of recordings, Patricia plotting fraud, talking about permanent solutions, naming names, even confessing to Victor's murder, making it look like a drowning to cover up the whole mess. Lucas hadn't handed over the tapes earlier because he didn't trust anyone, not with Hayes still out there. Suddenly, Agnes texted Powers out. Men outside, don't come home. Lucas paled. Rodriguez Summit's enforcer faked his own death. Now he's tying up loose ends. Black SUVs screeched up to the diner. My heart nearly stopped. Patricia's voice cold and familiar on Lucas's recordings. No witnesses. No problem. Floodlights exploded through the windows. Then FBI tactical teams, guns drawn, Agent Emily Chin leading the charge. Lucas, you're safe. We traced your cloud backups. Rodriguez is in custody. Hayes is exposed. Patricia, wild-eyed, was dragged out of an SUV, screaming at Lucas. You ruined everything I built for us. Lucas just looked at her, tired. You stole it, Mom. That's all you ever did. 6 months later, the trial packed the courthouse with victims from all over 17 neighborhoods. People with ruined lives and lost homes. Lucas's tapes buried Patricia 32 felony counts, life without parole. Russo's network crumbled dozens of arrests, $15 million in restitution. Lauren got her badge back. Agnes became a fraud-fighting legend. Lucas helped families reclaim what was stolen. They turned Patricia's old lot into a community garden, the biggest, weirdest sign of unity you've ever seen. Patricia's little empire had thrived on fear and secrets, but in the end, a stubborn architect, a new chief, and a son with a conscience tore it all down. And I'd love to say that's where the story ends, neat with a bow on top, but honestly, every time there's a knock at the door, late at night, I still tense up, wondering who might be next. What would you do if your neighbor suddenly tried to take everything you've built? Who would you trust if the very people meant to protect you were the ones tearing you down? Leave a comment below. I want to hear what you think. Is justice ever really that simple? Or do the ghosts of these battles stick around long after the verdict's read?